I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Frances to order, it being session number 55. And before we begin, I have to say it's delightful having so many smiling faces in the audience. We don't necessarily always get smiling faces. And it's also delightful to have such a good-looking group of well-dressed councilors here this evening as well. And my final ad lib remark is very important evening tonight, aside from the Moffett Fund. Go Oilers. Okay, we'll begin with a territorial announcement. Acknowledgement, sorry. We acknowledge that we are within Treaty 3 territory and that the land on which we live and work is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people and homeland of the Métis Nation. As taught by a Treaty 3 Ojibwe elder, when we speak about the land, we recognize that we are the land. The land is all of us, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous. The land is the collection of our history, our current experiences, and our future together. We offer this land acknowledgement in the spirit of reconciliation, recognizing the historical and contemporary impacts of colonialism, while committing to working together as Indigenous and non-Indigenous people to build a better future. Councilors, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest, and if so, state the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll go to delegations and deputations. There are none. We'll go to presentations, and there are two, and we'll begin with item 5.1, the 2024 Moffett Family Fund grant recipients, and I'll just move to the podium. So, one of the benefits of being mayor is that you occasionally get to recognize great organizations that contribute so much to our community. And not only do I get to thank them, but we get to assist them by providing funding from the Moffett Fund for them to continue with the important work that they do for our community. So tonight, we recognize 11 amazing community organizations and provide grants on behalf of the Moffett Fund. Just a little note, these organizations all applied for funding. The applications were selected and approved by the Moffett Fund Committee. The Moffett Fund Committee then recommended their choices to Council. Council approved the choices and sent them to the Moffett Fund Family Grant Organization in Winnipeg, where they were given final approval. And so now, after all of that, it gives me great pleasure to be able to recognize the following organizations this evening and to provide them with checks from the Moffett Fund. So I'll call your name, the name of the organization, and the representatives can come down. I'll present you with a certificate and a check, and we'll need to pause for a photo op. In no particular order, I would like to call the Rainy River District Community Policing Group. Anyone here from them? Okay, we'll see that they get their check. The next one, I know they're here, is the Salvation Army. And the Salvation Army has been awarded $6,632. Right in the podium. All right. Hope everyone's paying attention. This is where you need to stand.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council.
And next we have, and I don't like to play favorites, but this is one of my favorites, the Rainy Lake Air Cadet Squadron sitting right here. Congratulations. Congratulations. Don't go yet. And the Rainy Lake Air Cadet Squadron has been awarded $10,000. Next, we have the Kenora Rainy River District Child and Family Services.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
Get it down yet.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And the Kenora Rainy River District Child and Family Services has been awarded $10,000. Okay. Next, we have nutrition on weekends. Okay, I'm going to put my hand up. You take my hand.
All right.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So, nutrition on weekends has been awarded $13,740. Kids Sport. I'm not moving. Here. Yeah.
Oh, we're not.
We never get it right. Yeah, don't go yet. So, Kids Sport has been awarded $4,500. Fort Frances Volunteer Bureau. Welcome. I'll get it in the middle. Yeah, we're going to step forward. Kind of pull that. Where we at? So the Fort Frances Volunteer Bureau has been awarded $22,277.67. A Street Trails. Hi, welcome. How do we do that? Okay.
Thank you.
Gotta get a picture taken. Come on in. Yeah. Okay. Scrunch up. My chief sister. But don't go yet. So, 8th Street Trails has been awarded $9,000. Conn College. I think we got this down by now. So, Conn College has been awarded $6,750.33. The community garden. Yeah, welcome. Welcome. Hey, come on in. Oh, we good? Okay, and so the community garden has been awarded $7,300. And finally, but certainly not least, the Healthy Living Food Box. We've already done this, so we should do it again. You can't get it right. And so the Healthy Living Food Box has been awarded $8,350. So I'd just like to thank all of the groups who applied for Moffett funding. I mean, you have all demonstrated your care and concern for this community, and you're to be applauded and thanked for the wonderful, wonderful work you do. You're helping to make our community a better place. Thank you all. And by the way, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Actually, Air Cadets, I'll be giving a report shortly, and I'll be talking you up in my report.
That's probably not enough. Gotta try. You gotta work on your sales.
I'm not selling anything. Okay, this brings us to item 5.2, and with us this evening we have the Museum and Cultural Center Advisory Committee, and they're doing their annual presentation. And we have, I think, Chair Christine Denby. Are you doing the presentation, Christine? Yes. With some assistance, some able assistance.
They're like my backup singers.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
And this is our first annual report because we've never had to do this. And you can help me with that? Can you hear? I'll try to speak up. I was told we have 5 minutes, and you did remind us that there's a hockey game. So
yes.
I'll start.
Okay. Take it away.
Okay, Mayor, Town Council, managers, and, well, I had members of the public, but they left, so, okay. History is an understanding of the past within our present as we move forward into our future. Truly understanding the history of our district embraces everything from geological shifts, earliest Indigenous settlement, the impacts of colonialism, modern resource development, and the rich tapestry of multiculturalism and the arts. To appreciate where our community is at present, we must fully understand the past. The Museum and Cultural Center is at the very heart of that journey. Our committee is small, but mighty. Sarah Marusik, Jennifer Thorpe, and myself, Christine Denby, meet monthly. Mary Hickney, a longtime member and volunteer, has only recently resigned. John McTaggart, our representative from Town Council, brings a wealth of council experience to our discussions. We each bring different perspectives and experiences to the table. We are actively recruiting 2 new members as well as a youth member. We all work full-time and volunteer with other groups. We love where we live, and like you, we are committed to making our community the best it can be. More importantly, we are deeply invested in the success and flourishing of our museum and cultural center. We would like to thank past and present advisory committee members, the Friends of the Museum, museum volunteers, I lost my spot for a second, curators, and staff, including the programs and events coordinator. Without their vision and dedication, we would not be here. We understand our role as an advisory committee. We work with the curator and recreation and culture manager who bring our recommendations forward to Town Council. That said, we are focused on making sure the Hallett and Awandam project goes ahead. With the support of community members, the Friends of the Museum, and many others, the project has been in the works for many years, and now is time. We are also focused on the museum's policy review and continue to encourage the development of a town public art policy and volunteer policy. It may not sound fun, but is necessary to ensure we comply with CMOG, which is the Community Museums Operating Grant, who funds museum operations. We will continue to offer support to our incoming curator where possible, as we did with the curator who recently left. We truly feel that Danielle Marshall made a positive impact on the museum and our communities, paving the way forward for the incoming curator. After a high degree of turnover with various roles, we look forward to stability ahead. In my time on the committee alone, since March 2021, I've seen 3 recreation and culture managers and 3 curators. In fact, our presentation was originally scheduled for May, but we got word of the curator's resignation. We understand that the town is close to announcing a new curator. I know we can get where we need to be. Lastly, come fall, we want to reevaluate and recommend, if needed, changes to our terms of reference. In summary, what are we proud of? So many good things. Exhibits, programming, events at the square this week, right? School visits, community partnerships, the gala, 10 years of Snowasis. So we're very proud. As our community continues to evolve and change, we want to see the museum and cultural center do the same. In order to do that, we will need to encourage and support volunteer involvement, community partnerships, and of course, visits to the museum and the tower and all our other wonderful facilities. So buy a membership. I bought one. Follow the museum on Facebook and their great Instagram page. Yeah, and share their posts. So there you have it.
And well done indeed. Just before you depart, councilors, do you have any questions or comments of these fine representatives of the museum? I have Councilor Olson and then Councilor McTaggart.
So I just want to say miigwech, first of all, to you ladies, because I know there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And I was talking to Christine before she came in, and she's like, oh my God, I don't want to stand here. And I'm like, I've been in meetings with you. You can articulate yourself so well. So it was beautiful and well versed. And I appreciate that you guys spoke to really the heart of what this is for our community versus reading over the highlights that we received. Also, I know the work that was being done over there from a long time ago. In the middle of the pandemic, we decided to have a Pride Day, and I worked closely with Sarah to get it off the ground when she was there. So much appreciation. I know that there's hard work that goes unnoticed, especially to keep the Rainy Lake Square running so efficiently too. So miigwech, you guys.
Councilor McTaggart.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, ladies, for your presentation. I've had the real privilege of working with these three ladies for several years on the museum board, and they breathe the museum like they're really fully invested, and I really want to thank them for their continued contribution and look forward to continuing working with them. So thank you.
Thank you. Other councilors? Councilor Bernetta?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I have to just echo what Mandy and John said. Thanks so much for all the work you guys put in. Also, I just came back from a trip to England, Ireland, and Scotland, and history is just adds so much to the whole trip. You just learn so much. I mean, we don't have as much history as they do, but still, it's something that just really enriches the lives of the people who live there. So thanks.
Anyone else, councilors? I'll say a few words. So Christine, Sarah, Jennifer, first of all, thank you for an excellent presentation that really did showcase what you're doing and what the museum is doing. It was wonderful. As a former friend of the museum, I was on the Friends, Sarah's nodding over there. I will always be a friend of the museum. I recognize all of the hard work that goes into running that place on a relatively small budget. But in proportion to your budget, the work that you do for our community is amazing. It's intense, it's needed. So thank all of you for the work that you do. And I have to say, we've got to keep Snowasis going. We have to keep the gala going. Those are just wonderful events bringing people together. So thank you. Okay, that brings us to item 6, which is correspondence. We have item 6.1, which is a request from Dave Coates for additional fireworks funding. I'm going to put that on the table. Would anyone like to speak to that? Councilor Bernetta?
I'm a bit concerned that this has come to us when the fireworks are like next week. I would assume that they've already been purchased for the event next week. So I would like to ensure that this goes to the budget process next year. If we have a little wiggle room in our council, what do we call it, like our discretionary budget? Yeah, our public relations budget. I would agree to, maybe giving them another donation of some amount, maybe $1,000. But yeah, I just don't think we can manage such an increase with such short notice.
Thank you, Councilor Bernetta. Other councilors? Yeah, Councilor Mackey?
Thank you, Your Worship. I tend to agree with Councillor Bernetta in that, yes, it's short notice. And if there is some money in the slush fund to do something for this year, yes, it is obviously in a few days. So, but for next year, I'd like to see us move forward with increasing from 7,500 to 15,000 for next year and beyond, and have administration put that in the works for next year's budget.
Thank you, Councillor Mackey. Anyone else? So what I'm hearing is that we want to send this we want to ensure that this is considered in the 2025 budget. But I also heard that you wanted to know if there was possibly some wiggle room in the council's discretionary budget that would be included in the motion then. So I see the treasurer giving me the eye. Did you want to speak to that before I put a motion on the floor?
Sure, if I may.
Yeah.
So to this point right now, council public relations expense is at just over 5,400, and I believe the budget was 17,000. So there is room in the budget if that's what you so wish.
Okay, so I'll put a resolution on the floor that has 2 points to it. One, that administration bring back a resolution to include this request, that's the request to increase our annual contribution to the 2025 budget process, and also include in that report the capability of providing some donation from a recommendation to provide some amount from our discretionary budget. Could I get a mover and seconder for that? Yes, Councillor Bernetta? Moved. Second by Councillor Mackey. Any further discussion? Yes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you again, you know, you see these unbudgeted expenses come up, and we do have some funds available. And the only reason I'd support it this time is because it's for the broad community. Everybody's going to benefit from this with the fireworks display. So in that respect, I am in favor of a little bit of money. I'm not sure I would say the full 5,000, but I'm open to whatever is suggested, but 1,000, 2,000, just to help out this year, and then again, look for 2025. Thank you.
We'll look to our able treasurer for a recommendation. Yes. Councillor Mackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess my question is in regards to the motion that we're putting it to administration to come to deal with this and then get back to us, which will be after the July 1st.
Yes.
So we won't be able to give this fireworks for this year any money, even if we decide to do $1,000 or whatever.
I'll go to our CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. With the information that Ms. Galusha provided, you have over 11,000 remaining. I would recommend to just make that separate decision this evening on the dollar amount between 0 and 5,000. Give us that direction to provide those funds, and then have a separate motion to come forward for the adding it to the 2025 budget for the full amount. So I think this wouldn't have to really come back to council another time. We can make that decision tonight.
Okay, thank you for that. So mover and seconder, with your permission, I'll change the motion to simply refer the request to increase the annual amount of the funding to the 2025 budget process for consideration. And so on that particular motion, any discussion? Calling the question on that motion, all in favor? That's carried. So the second motion then would be to contribute a certain amount from our discretionary budget. And as Councillor Bean ably suggested, we don't normally do this, but I can say that Mr. Coates, for many, many, many years, has been providing enjoyment for so many of our citizens. I think that we can make an exception here, but I need someone to suggest an amount. Councillor Bernetta.
I think I would propose perhaps $2,000. I think if we went with the full 5,000, that would be half of what we have left. And there's many more, as we know, many more requests that come forward throughout the year. So we don't want to deplete our discretionary budget too greatly. So I would say 2,000.
Councilors, 2,000 is okay? I'm getting the nod. So the motion then is that council will contribute $2,000 for this year's fireworks from council's discretionary budget. Mover and seconder on that. Councilor Mackey, Councilor Firth. Any discussion on that? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, councilors. Thank you, CAO. We have correspondence from the municipality of Tweed on an OPP motion, and I'll go to Councilor Mackey to speak to this.
Thank you, Your Worship. Upon reading this, as I'm going through every whereas, I found myself agreeing with every statement, and that's not usually the case with a lot of these motions that we see. Now, I don't necessarily believe that if we were to follow suit with this, that the OPP or the government's going to say, okay, the OPP don't have to charge us. We are going to get charged. This motion here is more for, as Councillor McTaggart had indicated to me, it is not for towns with contracts, but for the municipalities that don't have contracts for OPP placing. The gist of this is if we support this down the road, if all of these municipalities gain some leeway with the government and get their policing costs covered, even though ours isn't, eventually we could then put our hand up and say, hey, look at folks, film at 11, you guys just, you're paying for them, you're discriminating against us, maybe we should get it free as well. Every municipality in the province is in the same boat as us, scrambling for tax dollars. So I think we should support this, but I leave it to Council.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Mackey. Councillor McTaggart.
Thank you, Your Worship. And to Councillor Mackey's point, under the old act, this is for 5.1 communities such as Alberton and West, just as by example. We're all non-contract. The contracts are all gone now under the new Police Act, our Community Policing and Safety Act. So I'm prepared to support this, but it's really sort of referencing old terminology.
Thank you, Councillor McTaggart. Other councillors? I just wanted to weigh in, and I'll get Councillor McTaggart to help me with this. I believe the amount that we're paying for our policing, and I realize that this is under a different situation, is very high. I think, are we not in the top 3 in the province? Councillor McTaggart?
That is correct.
So it's not sustainable, and even though it's slightly different, I agree with the intent of Councillor Mackey that the government has to help small communities with some of these downloaded costs. Now, did you want some particular action taken on this?
Well, I'd like to, I guess, see us move forward with supporting this motion with our own motion.
So I'll get administration then to bring back a resolution supporting the Tweed notice of motion.
Correct.
So I'll put an oral motion on the floor that that council bring back a resolution supporting the Tweed notice of motion. And can I get a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Mackey, Councillor McTaggart, any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. No one was opposed to that. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to reports. Bearing in mind that there's a very important event coming up shortly. Councillor Bernetta has no report. Councillor Olson has no report. That was correct, Councillor Olson? Councillor Behan has no report. The mayor has a report, but it's a written report, and I'm not going to go through it, but I will read. I do want to do one shout out. I want to do my shout out of the week. And my shout out of the week goes to the Make a Big Splash Spray Park Committee and the Royal Canadian Legion for their vision and determination in building a brand new, beautiful spray park and refurbishing Legion Park. And the grand opening of our new spray park and refurbished Legion Park was held yesterday. And in spite of the rain, it was an amazing event. There was an excellent turnout, and the setup of the grand opening was first class, thanks to Travis Robb and Cody Vangel, who went early and set everything up. A few thank yous. I want to thank the Legion for providing a color party and pipers for the march-in, and thanks to the Air Cadets who were here for being part of that, and thanks to Minister Rickford and his staff who put on a very delicious barbecue for those present. One of the cooks is present this evening. And thanks go to our councillors, our administration, and our staff for their support and commitment to this project and their attendance at the grand opening. And thanks to our Public Works crew, the Parks crew, the crew of the Fort Frances Power Corporation, and again, along with Cody Vangel and Craig Miller for their expertise and hard work. But I can't say enough about the Make a Big Splash Spray Park Committee chaired by Becky Andrusko and the Legion for all of their efforts and determination to make this project a reality. There were many, many problems along the way, but the committee persevered and overcame them, and the committee and the Legion invested countless hours planning, coordinating, and overseeing every aspect of this project. And thanks have to go out to Minister Rickford and the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund for providing funding, and to all the businesses and individual donors who are also very generous with a contribution. Fort Frances residents always come through when there's some project that catches their eye and they feel that there's a need. And I do want to give special thanks to Travis Robb for his unwavering support of this project right from the very beginning. So I encourage everyone, if you weren't at the grand opening yesterday, to take some time to visit our newest community asset and cool off in our amazing new spray park. That ends my report. We'll go to the consent agenda. Starting at 8.2. 8.2 are the regular council meeting minutes of June 10th. And the recommendation reads that council approve the regular council meeting minutes of June 10th, 2024, that they be approved as presented. 8.3 deals with boards and committee meeting minutes, and the recommendation is that boards and committee meeting minutes be received as information, and they are the Sister Betty Kennedy Advisory Committee meeting minutes of May 15th, 2024, the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes May 22nd, 2024, and the Fort Frances Nonprofit Housing Corporation meeting minutes of March 6, 2024. 8.4 deals with the 2024 capital program update. I do want to stop here, and no, pardon me, I'll wait till I read them all, and then I'm going to pull this one. But the recommendation reads that council approval report AR 24-0616 entitled 2024 Capital Program Update be received as information. 8.5 is the Canada Community Building Fund Municipal Funding Agreement, and the recommendation reads that council approval of report AR 24-0617 to enter into municipal funding agreement for the Canada Community Building Fund with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for the 10-year period commencing April 1st, 2024, with an authorizing bylaw to follow. 8.6 is the FedNor contribution agreement for the town of Fort Frances, and the recommendation reads that council approval of report AR-24-0610 entering into a contribution agreement with the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario will agree with the recommendation of administration that the town of Fort Frances enter into a contribution agreement with the FedNor for funding under the revitalization of waterfront assets and tourism development, and that a bylaw be prepared authorizing mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation. 8.7 is the POA quarterly financial statements to March 31st of this year. Recommendation that council receive report AR-24-0618 as information on the POA financial statements for the period ending March 31st, 2024. 8.8 is a resolution of support for the 52 Canadians Arena Ice Plant. Recommendation reads that council receive report AR-24-0614 entitled Resolution of Support for the 52 Canadians Arena Ice Plant Replacement Project, Northern Ontario Heritage Fund grant application, and that council acknowledges the total project cost has already been approved and committed per resolution 549. and that council authorize and support an application to the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Community Enhancement Program for the replacement of the 52 Canadians ice plant compressor and related works, and that the project cost will be attributed as followings. The Northern Ontario Heritage Fund, $144,224.38, and municipal contribution will be $48,074.80, and any budget overages, for a total project cost of $192,299.18. 8.9 is an extension request for Continuing Links Funding Program, and the recommendation reads that council approval report AR-24-0612 will agree with the recommendation of administration to delay the start of the reconstruction of 3rd Street from Central Avenue to York Avenue and Scott Street from Reed Avenue to Mosier Avenue due to the late award of Connecting Link funding, impacting our ability to find contractors to complete the work. And further, that a request be sent to the Minister of Transportation for a 1-year extension in the Connecting Link funding allocation for the reconstruction of 3rd Street West and Scott Street to 2026 to facilitate the successful completion of these critical roadwork projects. And so, councillors, would you like to pull any of those? Councillor Behan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull 8.6 and 8.9.
Okay, hold on 1 minute because my pen seems to have disappeared. 8.6 and 8.9? Councilors, did you want to pull any others? Councilor McTaggart?
Thank you, Your Worship. 8.7 and 8.9.
8.7 and 8.9. Okay. Anything else, councilors? And I'm going to pull 8.4. So starting at 8.4, the reason I pulled this is that I just thought it would be good for administration to give a bit of an oral update on some of these capital projects. And I'm wondering, I guess I'll put Travis on the spot. Could you give us a brief update on these projects, please?
Thank you, through the chair. Absolutely, I can. Not a lot to update from what is in front of you. So I will do just a brief update on First Street and the pool. So starting on First Street East, the water main installation and service is now complete. It's flushed. It's been tied in. Samples have been taken today, and there'll be additional samples tomorrow. Once those results do come back positive, we will be tying the building services back into that and taking down the temporary water. The sanitary sewer main and services is 100% complete as well. McKinga right now is working on the installation of the storm sewer. That is 90% complete. There's one catch basin to install and then just some tie-ins. So likely they'll be finishing that up before they leave at the end of their 10-day rotation. They are also working on installing subdrains, and they're starting to shape the subgrade of the road, adding in geotextile and granular B2. Moving on to the pool. The painting of the pool was completed over the weekend. The installation of the epoxy pool deck is well underway. We're expecting that to be fully complete by Wednesday. So the remaining work as of right now is to finish up the new guards on the viewing area, including glass and railings. There's 2 ceiling fans to be installed, installing the pool equipment such as diving boards, ladders, guard chairs, lifts. The site itself needs a deep clean. We've prioritized the cleaning of the pool area. And as of right now, the plan is to be starting to fill the pool on Friday.
Thank you very much, Manager Robb. 8.6, that was Councillor Behan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, and this would be to Manager Young. I see that FedNor is awarding us $137,500 to support the rehabilitation and construction project of the Hallett Nawandam. The total project cost is already $650,000, of which the NOHFC has already donated $487,500, leaving the town's portion being $162,500 plus any overages. So my question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Manager Young, will this FedNor grant be used to reduce the town's contribution from $162,000 to $25,000 plus overages, or is this for additional work that's being done at the site, and what would our town's portion be of that, if that's the case? Thank you.
I'm going to direct your question to Manager Robb. I think he's the one to answer this.
Thank you, through the chair. So anytime we have projects like this where we're stacking Heritage Fund funding with another funder of any different variety, we, the municipality, have to pay a minimum of 10% of the total project costs to fit with the eligibility criteria of Heritage Fund. So the way that their programs work, it's 75-25. They pay 75%, we pay 25. We can stack 15% of that 25. So that leaves us with that last 10%. So this Heritage, or this FedNor grant, is covering that component of the works, plus any extra that we might foresee.
Thank you, Manager Robb, and thank you for the question. Councillor Bien. Councillor McTaggart, 8.7.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I'm just on the POA figures. It's only a small amount that we're losing for the first quarter. Is this comparable to a year ago, or are we headed for something different this year?
Okay, Treasurer Galusha.
Through the chair, I don't know if it was comparable to last year, to be honest with you. Definitely the first quarter, we typically had been struggling the last several years, which is why we changed so that we would basically, we used to pay quarterly or collect quarterly. Now it's just annually, so that's why we did make that change.
Thank you. And 8.9 was Councillor Bien and Councillor McTaggart. Go ahead.
Again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Manager Robb. I certainly agree with the recommendation to delay the construction start to 2025. Over the other two options that you looked at, was proceeding as planned or split the work up. I don't agree with those options, so I do agree with delaying the construction start. I'm just curious, what's the advantage to seeking an extension and delaying the surface paving until 2026, rather than, if I read the report correctly, getting all the work done if we don't get the extension, including the surface paving in 2025? So I'm just wondering what the advantage is to get that extension so we do the surface paving in 2026 rather than doing it all in 2025. Thank you.
Manager Robb.
Thank you, through the chair. Historically, anytime we have a road we're reconstructing that is like a multi-lift asphalt road, it's typically our highways, our heavier kind of heavier traffic areas. We will pave the binder course, the first layer, and let it winter. And that allows the road time to go through a freeze-thaw cycle and help us spot any potential areas of settlement that we need to address before we do apply that final driving course. So that in the event that we do have some settlement, we can address that so that that road surface is as smooth as we can get it for the driver.
Follow up?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So again, there is an advantage to overwintering it and doing it in 2026. So if we get the extension, that's what we'll do. If we don't get the extension, we'll get it all done in the 1 year then? Is that the plan? If they say no?
Go ahead.
Through the chair, yeah. I mean, ideally, we'll get the extension and be able to do it. If not, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's not the end of the world, and we'll just have to proceed in completing it all in 1 year, which we have had to do in the past for connecting link roads. So it wouldn't be unheard of either.
Thanks for the question and the response. Councillor McTaggart, and then I'll go to Councillor Mackey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with the recommendation that it be delayed for a year. These are two critical pieces of highway that need to be repaired. Do you have any indication how successful we'll be in asking for the extension?
Manager Robb?
Through the chair, I don't have any, I'm not going to tell you that we're going to be X percent, our odds are X percent. I do know in my conversations with Connecting Link, my contact at MTO, we are not the only municipality that's facing this. So I do think that we'll also not be the only municipality that is asking for an extension. Like I said, we're not the only ones that are up against the same challenges. So if multiple municipalities are asking, then I think the onus is going to be on the ministry to provide that. But in terms of what our odds are, I don't know.
Follow up.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you. So if we don't get the extension and we are basically forced to go this year, what impact's that going to have on our budget?
Manager Robb?
So if we don't end up getting the extension, work will still begin in 2026. I can say with fairly high confidence. There's basically no contractors that are able to start the work this year. That being said, the fact that we are out to tender in June, we'll be awarding a tender in July for a project that's going to start in the spring of next year, will allow contractors to order up, secure all of their pipe, all of their structures, all of their frames, covers, as much as they can in advance, and we've allowed them to do that. We will find a place in Fort Frances to store this material, so that basically as soon as the frost is out of the ground, possibly before all of the frost is out of the ground, these contractors will be able to mobilize and start work. They'll have ample time to get prepared, get organized. So it should lead to a quick, if I can use that term to describe a roadworks project, but a quick project. Again, for Connecting Link Roads, this isn't the first time that we've had a very late tender or a very early tender for the next year. And in the past, that has worked extremely well for us in terms of efficiently getting the project done. So,
Just before I move on to Councillor Mackey and Councillor Bernetta, Manager Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not get the funding announcement on this quite late? And that's one of the reasons why we're in this situation?
Yeah, through the chair. So historically, we have got Connecting Link funding awards anytime from like the last week of March through the middle of April. This year it was late May or early June, I do believe, which at that point in time, most roadworks projects are underway, not just going out to tender. So it was substantially later than normal. I feel a little bit bad for my connection at MTO because I was regularly emailing him, asking him about the funding award. So it was, yes, substantially later than what we historically have seen.
Thank you for that. Councillor Mackey?
Thank you, Worship. I agree that we should bounce this to next year. It looks like it makes sense. My question is, the projects that might have been in the queue for next year, because we're bouncing this to next year, do those projects for next year get bounced, or are we going to be able to do those next year as well?
Manager Rob.
So Connecting Link, unlike a lot of our funding programs, Connecting Link is actually a very short window. So we applied in 2023 for the 2024-25 Connecting Link program. So we have 2024-2025 to spend that money. What we'd be looking at is an extension to the 24-25 Connecting Link to 26. That's not impacting our ability to apply to the 25-26 intake of Connecting Link for both of our Connecting Link highways. So next year for Connecting Link, we would still be able and eligible to apply for a roadworks project for the west side of town and a roadworks project for the east side of town through the Connecting Links program.
Thank you. Councillor Bernetta.
Thank you, Your Worship. This may be kind of a premature question, but previously Craig Miller presented, I think it was April or May, he presented a report talking about some future traffic changes, and one of them was a roundabout at Central Avenue. So because we're looking at paving 3rd Street, is there any advantage to trying to get that project underway at the same time? I know there's engineering, there's all kinds of things that need to be done, so maybe this is a dumb question.
Manager Rob.
Thank you, through the chair. Any work that would be happening on Central Avenue would likely be outside the limits of the 3rd Street construction portion, because the Central Avenue intersection reaching out into the fringes was reconstructed not that long ago. So we were picking up from that point and moving on. So likely outside of the limits. Also, further to that, first we need to design a reconstructed Central Avenue, which is going to take some substantial time. And if anyone has driven down 3rd Street, we don't have a lot more useful life left in 3rd Street, so we definitely need to proceed with that work.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Manager Rob. So, it's been, the recommendation reads that council approve the consent agenda as follows. Agenda items 8.2, 8.3, 8.5, and 8.8. Can I get a mover and seconder on that? Councillor Bien, Councillor Olson. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's carried. No one is opposed. Going back to the pulled items. 8.4, again, recommendation approval of AR-24-0616 entitled 2024 Capital Program Update be received as information. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Firth, Councillor McTaggart. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. No one is opposed. 8.6 was that council approval report AR-24-0610 entering into a contribution agreement with the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario. FEDNOR will agree with the recommendation of administration that the town of Fort Frances enter into a contribution agreement with FEDNOR for funding under the revitalization of waterfront assets and tourism development. That a bylaw be prepared authorizing mayor and clerk to execute the agreement on behalf of the corporation. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Bernetta, Councillor Firth. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. No one is opposed. 8.7 was that council receive report AR-24-0618 as information on the POA financial statements for the period ending March 31st, 2024. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. I saw no one opposed. And finally, from the consent, that council approval report AR-24-0612 will agree with the recommendation of administration to delay the start of construction of 3rd Street East from Central to York Avenue and Scott Street from Reed Avenue to Mosier Avenue due to the late award of Connecting Link funding impacting our ability to find contractors to complete the work. And further, that a request be sent to the Ministry of Transportation for a 1-year extension in the Connecting Link funding allocation for the reconstruction of 3rd Street West and Scott Street to 2026 to facilitate the successful completion of these critical roadwork projects. Mover and seconder. Councillor Bien, Councillor Firth. Any discussion on this? Councillor Bien?
I see the recommendation reads that reconstruction of 3rd Street East, so that should be 3rd Street West, I think.
I thank you for your eagle eye. I just want to make sure that's correct, though.
Paragraph.
I think he's right. Okay. So with that change, I'm not going to read the whole thing again. 3rd Street East was changed to 3rd Street West. It's a typo there. Any further discussion? Calling question. All in favor? That's carried. No one was opposed. Okay, that brings us to item 9, Administration and Finance Division reports. There are none. Item 10 is Community Service Division reports. 10.1 is a follow-up report. Recommendation reads that council receive report AR-24-0611 relating to the Recreation and Culture Division summer event series being designated as a municipally significant event, and that council's approval of report AR-24-0611 will designate the Recreation and Culture Division summer event series as a municipality significant event, and that council direct administration to amend the municipal powers and duties policy, that's bylaw 53-23, Schedule A, Section 9, with the addition of the summer event series. Any discussion on this? Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Firth, Councillor Bien. Last chance for discussion. Seeing none, calling the question. All in favor? It's carried and no one is opposed. Item 11, Planning and Development Division reports. There are none. Item 12, Operation and Facilities Division reports. There are none. Item 13 is bylaws. And the recommendation is that bylaw 47-24 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement with Mookie Architecture LP, RFP 2024-OF-05 Architectural Design Services for various projects be introduced and read, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with a corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Olson, Councillor Bernetta. Any discussion? Councillor Bean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I have one question. First of all, it says architectural design services for various projects, plural. I know that we had to drop the one for the front desk of the Memorial Sports Center and just going with the fire hall renovation. My question is this: Schedule B, Appendix B of Schedule A specifically referred to the fire hall renovation, but Schedule A, Appendix A did not. I'm just wondering if that was an oversight. There was, on the cover page, there was actual stamp saying for fire hall renovations. Is it okay to be like that, or should the fire hall renovations be specifically referred to in Appendix A as well? Just curious. Thank you.
I'm guessing Manager Rob.
Yes, through the chair. So, architectural design services for various projects was the title of the tender that they, or the request for proposal that they submitted to. So anywhere it's referencing that, that's the proposal that ultimately makes up the scope of work. So that's why that phrasing is in there. And then when it gets into the Appendix B, that's breaking down exactly what services they are providing to the town in more detail, right out of their proposal. And that's where it shows that it's just the fire hall renovation.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Appendix A would just be a more general agreement, than it gets specific for Schedule or Appendix B then.
Through the chair. Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, calling the question. All in favor? It's carried. No one is opposed. Item 14, notice of motion. There are none. So item 15 is the closed session. And the recommendation reads that council now meet in camera in order to address a matter pertaining to a labor relations matter, and this comes under 239D, labor relations or employee negotiations, and 239I, a trade secret or unscientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. Can I get a mover and seconder? Councillor Bernetta, Councillor Mackey. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. For the folks attending the meeting virtually, we will now proceed into closed session. Once we have completed the closed session, we will return to open session and I will report. Okay, we'll resume the public session. In the closed session, we dealt with a labor relations matter and we received a report on that labor relations matter. We also examined our minutes from the previous closed session, and there's a resolution coming out of the in-camera session. The resolution reads that council approve the May 27, 2024 and the June 10, 2024 closed meeting minutes as presented. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Bernetta, Councillor Olson. Any discussion on that? All in favor? It's carried. No one is opposed. That brings us to the confirmatory bylaw. Recommendation reads that bylaw 48-24, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Fort Frances, be introduced, read, and finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed with a corporate seal, and become law forthwith. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Mackey, Councillor Bean. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. No one is opposed. And finally, that having reached the hour of
6:58.
6:58, this meeting of the Council of the Town of Fort Frances be now closed. Mover and seconder, Councillor McTaggart, Councillor Mackey. Really? Really? There's no discussion. All in favor? That's carried. Go Oilers.